Good evening, I'm Claudia Zerwinska, and you're watching GNP Global News Pulse, broadcasting live from Warsaw. Thank you for joining us for this extended edition of tonight's program. We begin with developments in Ukraine, where the country has endured one of the most severe nights of bombardment since the start of the full-scale invasion. According to local officials, Russia has executed one of its most extensive, coordinated attacks on Kyiv and several other regions. Entire districts were shaken throughout the early hours as waves of missiles and drones filled the sky. Several civilians have been confirmed dead, dozens more injured, and close to 600,000 people are currently facing total power outages, with emergency teams working to stabilize the grid. Authorities say the scale and timing of the strikes leave little doubt about their intention. The attack occurred just hours after a Ukrainian diplomatic delegation departed for Washington, hoping to discuss frameworks for renewed peace talks. For many observers, this synchronicity is not accidental, but a deliberate political signal. We will return to Kyiv in just a moment to break down the assault and understand its broader implications. But first, let's take a look at some of today's other leading international stories. Ukraine's military has confirmed that it successfully hit two vessels from what is known as Russia's Shadow Fleet in the Black Sea. These tankers, operating under obscure ownership structures, have been transporting sanctioned Russian oil through covert routes. Ukrainian underwater drones reportedly executed the operation, marking a significant escalation in Kyiv's attempts to undermine Moscow's energy revenues. Meanwhile, in Germany, tens of thousands of demonstrators filled the streets of major cities, protesting against the establishment of a new youth wing of the far-right AfD party. Organizers say the movement reflects growing concern about extremist ideologies gaining legitimacy among younger voters. And in Bulgaria, a public charity event known as the Mustache Run brought crowds together to raise awareness about men's health issues, including mental health and early cancer detection. Participants ran through central Sofia with symbolic mustaches as part of the nationwide initiative. Now, turning back to developments in Ukraine. Updated casualty figures show that 2 people have been killed and 38 wounded in the extensive attack conducted overnight. The offensive involved more than 600 drones and missiles, launched in successive waves meant to overwhelm Ukraine's air defense network. Despite the pressure, Ukrainian forces reportedly intercepted a large number of incoming objects. Still, damage across several residential neighborhoods remains significant. At the same time, Ukraine is not solely playing defense. Officials confirm that 2 Russian shadow tankers carrying nearly $70 million worth of oil were disabled in coordinated maritime operations. Kyiv says it will keep striking the economic lifelines that fund Russia's military campaigns. To discuss what all this means on the ground, we now turn live to our correspondent in Kyiv. Oscar G., you are joining us from the Ukrainian capital. Oscar, this was a massive, multi-layered operation. Does Ukraine view this as a sign that Russia has effectively stepped away from any peace negotiations? Thank you, Claudia. Ukrainian authorities certainly interpret it that way. What unfolded early Saturday morning was unlike anything citizens had seen in weeks. Air defense systems across Kyiv lit up the sky as wave after wave of drones and missiles approached. The sound of explosions echoed across the capital as emergency alerts urged families to take shelter. Nationwide, 3 people lost their lives, and more than 30 others suffered injuries. President Zelensky later announced that Russia had fired 36 missiles and close to 600 drones, an enormous volume compared to recent weeks. In Kyiv alone, roughly 500,000 residents were left without electricity, with substations and transformer facilities hit directly. Emergency services have been working non-stop to restore basic services, but many districts remain dark. On top of that, several residential buildings sustained damage. Some of the scenes we've witnessed today mirror those from previous strikes just a week ago, underscoring a pattern of continuous pressure. Ukraine's Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha reacted publicly, saying that while global leaders discuss peace initiatives and diplomatic frameworks, Russia follows only what he called its two-point strategy: kill and destroy. Officials here believe that the timing and scale of the attack were crafted specifically to send a political message. Oscar, thank you for your insights. Stay safe. And now we move on to a dramatic political shift in Ukraine's leadership that few could have anticipated. President Zelensky's former chief of staff, Andriy Yermak, who was expected to lead Ukraine's negotiation team in Washington, has instead announced that he will travel to the front lines. His statement came less than 24 hours after he resigned his position, following anti-corruption raids at two of his properties. This sudden turn has raised numerous questions. Some analysts argue that Yermak may be attempting to restore his image or reshape public perception, drawing parallels to Winston Churchill, who famously chose to serve directly on the Western Front during World War I after the disastrous Gallipoli campaign. Our correspondent František Pilis has more. According to Ukrainian officials, Yermak had been preparing for a high-level visit to Washington, where he was scheduled to discuss a potential peace framework with American representatives. However, in an unexpected reversal, he told the New York Post that he would instead join Ukrainian forces at the front. "I am going to the front and I am prepared for any reprisals. I am an honest and decent person," he stated. His resignation stems from a sweeping anti-corruption drive targeting Ukraine's energy sector. The National Anti-Corruption Bureau and the Special Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office are investigating a $100 million scheme involving current and former energy officials, a prominent businessman, government ministers, and a former deputy prime minister. Many of those caught up in the probe are considered close allies of President Zelensky. Yermak, widely regarded as the second most powerful figure in Ukraine after the president, was connected to the inquiry after investigators searched his residence. Shortly afterward, President Zelensky confirmed that Yermak had stepped down. This moment is particularly delicate. Ukraine is preparing to re-engage in peace discussions, but Zelensky's newly appointed negotiation team faces its own setbacks. One of its principal members, Rustem Umerov, head of the National Security and Defense Council, is also under investigation. Whether Yermak's decision to head to the battlefield will serve as a political turning point or simply appear as an attempt to escape scrutiny remains uncertain. What is clear is that Kyiv now faces an urgent leadership gap at a time when diplomatic maneuvering is critical. For GNP Global News Pulse, František Pilis. We shift now to Hungary, where Prime Minister Viktor Orban has once again moved against the grain of Western alignment. Orban traveled to Russia for a personal meeting with President Vladimir Putin, despite intense criticism from NATO members and European Union states. Kazimierz Wyszek has this report. This marks Orban's second trip to Russia in 2 years. Hungary's strong dependence on Russian oil and gas remains the cornerstone of Orban's justification for maintaining ties with Moscow. "We did not succumb to external pressure and did not stop our cooperation," he declared during the visit. Critics, however, argue that these energy purchases help finance Russia's war machinery. Data suggests that Moscow earns close to $500 million annually from energy sales to Hungary. Ukrainian officials say this effectively makes Orban partially responsible for the ongoing bombardment of Ukrainian cities. One official said, "Putin has once again used Viktor Orban as an accomplice to his terror." European leaders expressed disappointment but not surprise. One senior figure stated, "NATO was founded to defend the West from Soviet aggression, meaning Russia. Its foundation is solidarity, not selfish interests. I hope that has not changed." Another added, "He acts without a European mandate and without consulting us. He continues to pursue his own ideas for ending this war, none of which have worked." Domestically, Orban faces growing opposition. Peter Magyar, leader of the TISA party, has been steadily gaining popularity. Recent analysis by Politico's Average suggests that Magyar's movement represents one of the most serious political threats to Orban's long-standing dominance. And that concludes this extended edition of GNP Global News Pulse. Stay with us for further updates and in-depth coverage throughout the evening.